After Luis Ortiz beats Charles Martin, he's given 3 days by the IBF to accept a final eliminator with Filip Hrgovic. The next day, Team Hrgovic say, "We hope Luis Ortiz will take up the fight." And the next day, Luis Ortiz's manager comes out and says, "Oh, sorry, Ortiz won't be able to fight Hrgovic in April because he was injured against Charles Martin." Forgive me for being skeptical. Now, obviously, he had trouble with Charles Martin. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that he picked up an injury. Apparently, it was a fractured hand. But the timing of it is interesting, isn't it? And bear in mind that Team Hrgovic, as in Sauerland, said that Luis Ortiz had previously turned down the opportunity to fight Hrgovic in some type of eliminator. Sauerland didn't seem particularly confident that Ortiz would change his mind after the Martin fight, either Ortiz or Charles Martin. So here we are with Ortiz saying, "Oops, I'm injured, can't fight by April." Now, if he does have a fracture in his hand and it's like a hairline fracture or whatever, yeah, that can take 6 to 8 weeks to heal. And April, you're going to be pushing it because obviously you want to get your sparring in and all that kind of stuff. And you might only get, a month and a half where you can do all your sparring, which is still doable, to be fair. If they're going to fight, let's say mid-April, we're now at the start of January, he can do his 6 to 8 weeks not using his hand. And then after that, he can still get all his sparring in. It might be a little tight, but he could definitely do it. So, yeah, I'm skeptical about this. I personally think, or at least suspect, that Luis Ortiz could fight Filip Hrgovic in April, and it wouldn't be a problem regarding any injury. And the reason he's swerving this fight, and that's what I personally suspect, I can't prove it. I'm not saying it as a statement of fact that he is swerving the fight. It's my suspicion. And I suspect the reason he's swerving this fight is because Al Heyman or his team have told him to, and they have something else lined up for him, which may well be a fight against Andy Ruiz. And as you can see here, there's a quote from Luis Ortiz where he says, "I would like Andy Ruiz to accept my challenge, but if not, I'll be ready for whoever comes because nobody wants to fight with a man they call old." Well, actually, Filip Hrgovic wants to fight with a man they call old. He just wants to fight somebody, but I don't think Luis Ortiz is just thinking about titles. I think Luis Ortiz is thinking about money because at the end of the day, he's not one of the top earners in the heavyweight division. He is getting on now, wants to secure his future surely financially for his family and what have you. And so you have to imagine that an Andy Ruiz fight, which certainly would be on pay-per-view, is a lot more lucrative than Filip Hrgovic. So I think he would rather, if he's going to lose, would rather lose to somebody like Andy Ruiz where he gets paid a lot of money rather than lose to someone like Filip Hrgovic where he's not going to get paid that much. Because if you consider what they were offering Michael Hunter to fight Filip Hrgovic, it was something like 600 grand, I believe, 600 grand. That is chicken change compared to what Luis Ortiz will probably get fighting Andy Ruiz. And this is why I have to put some blame on Team Sauerland, Eddie Hearn, and DAZN when it comes to being unable to get Filip Hrgovic an opponent, being unable to get somebody to step in the ring with him. Because if you pay enough money, somebody will fight this guy. But when you're offering 600 grand to fight potentially one of the most dangerous fighters in the top 10, you're not going to get many takers. The offer has to be a lot sweeter than that. And look, Luis Ortiz apparently didn't even enter negotiations with Hrgovic. So who knows, maybe they would have offered Luis Ortiz a lot more than they offered Michael Hunter because Luis Ortiz is a bigger name in the division. So maybe they could have come up with more money. Maybe the TV companies, because of the extra interest that they would anticipate, would put up more cash for that. Who knows? But unless you enter the negotiations, you're not going to get to know exactly what kind of money's on the table. But just looking at what Hrgovic offered Michael Hunter or what his team offered Michael Hunter, you're going to struggle to get anyone in the ring if those are the kind of ballpark figures you're coming up with. To fight a Filip Hrgovic, people are going to want millions. Let's be real. They're going to want millions. They're going to want at least 1 million. Most of them. Most of the guys who still have some chance of making good money or getting a title shot, most of them are going to want at least 1 million to fight the guy. So Eddie Hearn, DAZN, Sauerland, you need to stop being stingy. I know it's a business and all that kind of thing, but If you want someone to step in the ring with Hrgovic, you're going to have to make an investment. That's what it is. When you put up the money, you're investing in Hrgovic's future, just like Eddie Hearn did when he got AJ the IBF title shot against Charles Martin. AJ didn't earn that much for that fight compared to Charles Martin. Charles Martin earned a lot more. I don't know if Eddie Hearn lost money on the show or what. Perhaps he didn't because of the pay-per-view revenue. I'm not sure, but either way, he paid Charles Martin a lot of money to come over to the UK and fight Anthony Joshua. That's an investment. You see it, and it's an investment that paid off. Same goes for Filip Hrgovic. You want somebody to fight this guy, you're going to have to dig deep in your pockets and come up with the right money. Because really and truly, they're doing Filip Hrgovic a disservice. I'm going to say it. They're doing him a disservice by not putting up proper money to attract opponents. When Mike Tyson was in his prime, they could get people in the ring with a prime Mike Tyson. You're trying to tell me they can't get people in the ring with Filip Hrgovic? Of course they can. You pay the right money, opponents will take the fight. It's just that simple. So put up the right money, Sauerland, and all you guys. Yeah, make an investment. Even if you got to take a hit on the show, if you believe in your guy that much, you'll do it. So that's my take on it. If Ortiz doesn't fight Hrgovic but does fight Andy Ruiz next, I guess you can't really call it a duck because Ruiz is dangerous too. Ruiz is a former world champion. Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua. Hrgovic ain't beating anybody of that caliber as a professional. But if he goes on to fight somebody nowhere near the level of Ruiz and nowhere near the level of Hrgovic for not particularly great money, then yes, it's a duck. And again, the fact that they haven't even sat down at the negotiating table to have a look at what they're being offered for the Hrgovic fight lends credence to this idea that it is a duck. You'd at least want to see what you're being offered. You'd at least say, okay, let's sit down. We won't be ready by April, but how about May? Can we do it then? Surely you would at least do that. Apparently not. So I suspect that Ortiz's injury is an excuse to go in a different direction. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below.